Welcome back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for another installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Before the Snap series. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We're super excited to learn about another awesome career in and around the NFL. If this is your first time, that's exactly what you're going to learn about. You're going to learn what it takes to have a career in and around the game of football, but it truly can be across all sports. You're going to learn, how do you get to that career? Some things to make sure you're the best that you can be within your role. And so many other great tips and tricks. If you have tuned in with us before, again, thank you so much for tuning in. And like we said, you're in store for another excellent program. My name is Jake Ray, and I'm the Youth and Education Manager here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And I'm super excited to get to interview our guest today. But before we get to her, a little bit about us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's our mission here to honor the greatest of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And those values we promote, those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which made all of our Hall of Famers, including the class of 2023 that we just announced, the best football players and minds of all time, but also made them great men off the field and truly can make you a great student and one day a great employee of any organization that you end up in. Before we do get started today, I want to pass out some thank yous. First, I'd like to thank all of our teachers, administrators, educators, anybody that shared this program with their students today, watching us live or watching us 6 months from now. We thank you for allowing us to be a small part of the students' learning experience here this year. I'd like to thank our students as well. Students, without you here today, this program doesn't take place. I've got a lot of questions here to ask you, everybody, today. And I can ask them, but we want the students to be able to ask those questions instead. So students, get your questions in. Let us know where you're watching from, what school you go to. And if you have a question, go ahead and put that in the chat function there. I'm the one reading the chat today, so I've got it right here to my right. We're going to be looking at that here throughout the program today. So go ahead and get those questions submitted as early as you can, because the earlier you submit, the more opportunity you're going to have to get those questions asked. So get those questions in. So today, and Lucky, and I should have done this before, and I don't want to butcher the last name. So before we read that, I want our special guest to introduce herself, and then I'll go ahead and read the bio. I made the moderator mistake. I didn't ask ahead of time, so we'll go with this route instead.
It's all good. Hi, everybody. My name is Carlys Pennacchia. I work for the Philadelphia Eagles here. I'm a community relations manager. I just finished up my 8th season with the team. I started out in 2014 as a marketing intern and worked my way a year later into the role that I have today. And I've been here ever since. It's been really fun, really exciting to work in sports. And I'm just excited to be here today to talk to you guys and get it rolling. So thanks, Jake.
Yes, no problem. Well, thank you. And I would have gotten it wrong, so I'm glad I did it that way instead. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today. And, as the host of the program, not only I get the awesome opportunity to interview so many cool people. I get the opportunity to ask the first question as well. So, you mentioned there a little bit about, your time there in Philadelphia, but can you talk a little bit about, under your role, 10,000-foot view, what's the day-to-day responsibilities look like? What are some of the things you're handling as a member of the Eagles organization?
Sure. So the fun thing about my job is no day is ever the same. There's something always different going on in the world of sports. There's always a different season happening. So I guess I could break it down in season and out of season. So in season starts planning for us right before training camp. So about July, we ramp up to get going for training camp. Working in community relations, we work with the community we serve. So the Philadelphia region, people through all out our DMA, and we try our best to engage with them throughout camp. So bringing them to practices, open practices, getting them to meet our players, giving them experiences that they might not have otherwise. So that sort of begins our season, hosting them at our practice facility, getting them excited for the season, ramping up. And then as we head into the season, we do a lot of work every week in the community. We host a community event every week of the season. We bring our players out into the community, going to the children's hospital, going to youth football practice. It really runs the gamut of things we're doing in and out around our region. And then we have obviously game days, home games that we host. So we have about 70 or so guests that we bring to every Eagles home game. We bring them on the field, give them the opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise have, get them to meet our players. It's just all touch points for us throughout the season, making sure people are feeling connected to our team, and then bringing our players into the community as well. So we do a lot of things as well that come down from the NFL. Crucial Catch Initiative, Inspired Change, Salute to Service. My Cause, My Cleats is another big one we work on throughout the year. And all these things I'm doing, I'm managing our players as well. So every week I'm reaching out to them, asking them to come to our events, working with them on other initiatives that they're doing in the community. Any way we can support them, we want to do our best in doing so throughout the season. So that's really my main role every day, but it really is heightened in the season. We additionally do a lot of events with our sponsors as well. So getting them engaged with our sponsors throughout the season, doing appearances at the stadium, out in the community, like I said before. So we're always creating a touch point with our community and our players. And then as we hopefully go throughout the season, this year it didn't end how we wanted it to, but we got as far as we absolutely could on the biggest stage. And then we had a little lull this past week, and then we're kind of back into the off season. So today I'm actually here at the stadium. We have a girls flag coaching clinic going on that's happening right now in our locker room. So we have about 100 coaches throughout the region learning about girls flag and trying to get involved. We started our inaugural girls flag program last year with 14 teams, and now we're up to about 52. So we're really trying to grow the game of football with women, giving them that platform. And today we're also doing that as I stepped away to speak to you guys, which is really awesome. So you're always juggling as many hats as you can in sports. You're always doing 5 things at once, but that's the exciting part of it. So it really does go with the season. Everyone says, what do you do in the off season? Well, it's always a season for us, regardless of we're playing or not. And, the community never stops, and we're always trying to serve it the best we can. So it really just changes whatever we're doing. So like I said, today we're doing the coaching clinic. In a couple of weeks, we're doing a nonprofit conference that's free to nonprofits in the Philadelphia region for them to come and learn and grow their capacity. We do a lot of event in the autism community. We have an event coming up in April for that. And then we have a larger event that happens in June, which is our annual playground build, where we go and select a school in the Philadelphia area, transform their entire space, give them a playground, a turf field, a gigantic mural on their walls. And that's an entire organization event that goes on every year. And then we start it all over again. So it really just we just keep snowballing into the next. There really is no off season for us, but it makes it all exciting because as soon as it ends, you're ramping up for the next one. So
I have a ton of follow-up questions just after that there, but I want to focus on, we have normally we schedule these out. Somebody's in their office at their cubicle in a conference room. We do the interview, we call it a day. But, today, like you said, you're actually at an event, and we appreciate you so much for taking time out of that to talk with us today. But, I think since that's the case, I want to talk a little bit about that. What's event day like? So
Sure.
using today's example, kind of run through the setup, the promotion, the activation, the day of, and kind of what's the follow-up like? Just, don't have to go too far in depth, but what does your event day look like today to give the students an insight?
Absolutely. So today I'm supporting our community relations team. We're a team of 5. So Dan, who some of you may have seen in the past program, he was on a couple months ago. He's our manager of youth football, and he is taking the lead on this event today, and he does all of our youth initiatives. So yesterday we actually came in a little bit. We got everything set up, organized, signage, giveaway bags. We were stuffing folders, making sure everything was set and ready to go. And then this morning I got here around 7:30. We set up all the signage, did all the balloon drops, make sure our AV was working, setting up registration tables, all those things, getting breakfast sorted. So there's a lot of prep that goes into people just showing up here. So we've been here early in the morning, making sure everything's set, ready to go, making sure, our speakers are ready to go, people know where to park, all that. And then, 8:45, 8:30, people were coming in, getting registered, getting breakfast, and then heading down to our locker room and getting ready to go for the day. So there's a lot of prep that Dan definitely did for this that I was sort of in a supporting role for this time around. But that's sort of how we are in community relations. I have an event in 3 weeks that's similar to this, and he'll be in the supporting role and I'll be the one taking the lead. So it's all about teamwork and making sure that we're there to be, having a positive attitude and showing up for our teammates and making sure, not everything's going to go right at every event either. So you want to make sure that you're able to adapt and be a good problem solver. So that's sort of just how we kind of run things around here. And we're always here supporting each other. It's been a great day so far. We have about 100 coaches here just learning and growing their knowledge of girls flag. So it's pretty great. And our flag league starts middle of March. So we're getting them ready to roll.
Awesome, man. It's cool. And I'm so thankful that you did that because, if you follow the Eagles or you're a fan of the Eagles, and if you're not following them, I would suggest doing it to see all the great things that they're doing. But you're going to see photos from this event today, probably on social media somewhere. Yep. And you're going to go, oh, cool. That was like a cool event. That the coaching the coaches and teaching the coaches to become the best people that they can be. But you're not going to see what goes on behind the scenes. And I think that's super important because, you go through all these different events and, the final results, what everybody sees, but nobody sees, what makes the secret sauce. So I appreciate you giving us an insight there and talking a little bit about your event. I want to focus on too a little bit about the work in the community that you're doing and the Eagles organization is doing. That touches touches us here at the Hall of Fame, especially in our youth and education department, because we are kind of that community relations, community impact world here in Canton, Ohio, and truly nationwide. How important is it for you to do that work in the community and give back and, embrace that city of Philadelphia and all the Eagles fans, not only in Philly, but all over the country?
I think for us, we're really lucky to be in such a great market. People in Philadelphia love their sports and they love their Eagles. So luckily we have that fan base already, which is really great. And being able to do anything outside of that and be able to create a touch point is so important to us, especially in our department. We get hundreds and hundreds of people reaching out to us every week. We're always trying our best to send a letter or a care package or a donation. So any type of touch point, no matter how small it is, we're always trying to give back to our community. I think we're also really lucky. We have really great leadership and ownership. Really no idea is too small for us. It's really, okay, this is an amazing idea. How do we create it or make it happen? And if we can't, what can we do instead? So we don't hear the word no very often, which is really great. We have a lot of people that believe in our big and crazy ideas. Dan, my coworker who I mentioned earlier, will sit in our offices and just think, what's this really crazy idea we could do? And we think the craziest thing, and then we think, okay, well, we probably can't do that, but what can we do? And so we really have the ability to be so imaginative and, create these great experiences for our fans. And we always think to ourselves, what's the right thing to do? And then how can we get to that point? And, it's really been great for us to have that support throughout the organization, regardless of, what's going on. Everyone sort of just drops what they're doing to help everyone around here, which is another great thing. So we really have the support to make things happen for our fans here locally, but then, throughout the country and overseas as well. We're doing a lot of that. Obviously, the NFL is really growing overseas too. And we're seeing that too. We've sent a lot of youth football items and packages over, to those countries as well. So we're really trying to grow the game as much as we can in our fan base. So.
Awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you tuned in before the snap last week, I think. Yeah, last week. We had Maria Rodriguez, who works for the Pittsburgh Steelers right there in PA as well,
Awesome.
in international content. So growing the game outside the country as well. And I want to talk to you, Carly, a little bit about some stuff you mentioned there, working in the community and giving back. And you're specifically talking about the event today and Girls Flag. And we've seen how much that's grown over the past couple of years. And it just continues to exponentially grow in all these different cities. Seeing the impact that it has on girls in the Philadelphia community, what has that been like to see the game grow in another sector that a couple years ago wasn't even around?
It's pretty amazing to see these girls come out here and really compete. I mean, when I was in high school, we didn't have girls flag. I played basketball and field hockey. So if I was in high school, I would definitely be out there playing. It's something that's really my dad, obviously, he grew up with two girls. So I was always playing sports. So was my sister. So I was always more of a tomboy growing up, going to the Sixers game with my dad, Flyers games, you name it. So if I had the ability to play football back then, I would have definitely been there. So I think it's great that the Eagles especially are able to open that door for so many girls, and so many girls that may not have that opportunity, especially in the city of Philadelphia. Resources are obviously not the same. So I think it's just an amazing opportunity for girls to get more involved and at such a younger age. Obviously, my dad brought me up an Eagles fan, so I've always been an Eagles fan, but girls that may have not shown interest and now they can because it's offered to them at their school is really amazing.
Awesome. We're going to go to a question from one of our students, the only one to submit a question so far. So I thought, what better way to honor the only person to get that in, then we'll go to a question for them first. So I'm going to read in here from the iPad. So that's why I'm looking down. So I apologize. But this is from Antonio, who's from Delaware Valley University, a small school in Pennsylvania. He's a GA and an SID at the school. How can he separate himself from bigger schools? So you get a guy or somebody applying from an Ohio State, an Alabama, a Florida, a Tennessee, all these big schools everybody knows. And, over here on the right is this little school, Delaware Valley. How does somebody separate themselves when you feel like there's some pullback because of the university that you attend?
Yeah, I think for, when I look at, people looking to make it into the sports industry, I'm really not looking at where you're coming from. It's really just the passion and excitement that you share for sports in general. So, somebody may say, oh, well, I'm never going to be seen or, be able to connect with certain people because, I may not have the exact spotlight on me that somebody at Ohio State does or Penn State or something like that. But I really just think it's, the ability to connect and continue to engage with people to get you to where you want to be and create the experiences for yourself. A lot of times, you may hear the word no or the ability to not participate or something like that, but I would just encourage you to continue to connect with people that you think are going to get you to where you want to be, and show up for yourself every day and be authentic. And I think that'll show through every single time.
Awesome, Antonio. Thanks for that question. And we're encouraging all the other students to tune in. I see the number of people watching this. I know there's other students watching this right now. So go ahead and get your questions in. If you don't have a question, that's okay. Still let us know where you're watching from. We want to see how many awesome colleges and universities all over the country we can get involved here today. And I want to kind of play off that question, Carly, and a little bit about what he asked in separating yourself. And, you talked about it's not really how good your grades are or what college you go to. It's all about the experiences. So for somebody in college or even as low as high school or even, as high as a young professional, how do you gain those experiences? What are some things these college students and people can do to gain those different experiences to help grow their resume, to make them stand out a little more?
I think today it's hard, especially in the world of social media we live in. Everyone's sort of trying to connect and reach out and get an opportunity to reach out to somebody who's in the industry you want to be in. But I think even just starting small, working with the local groups, where you are and where you're living, and being able to show your excitement and your joy for whatever you're looking to get to. I will be the first to say, it's sometimes daunting looking at all, the connections I have and the people that want to speak to me on LinkedIn and things of that nature. But I think just continuing to persevere and find people that you think you're going to be able to connect with and learn from. I think it's just being, continue to have that drive for what you're passionate about and really getting to learn about the industries that you're interested in entering into, and just doing your best to continue to follow up, continue to reach out to people that you want to connect with and learn from, and just not giving up hope on what you want to be doing out there in the world. So.
And there comes a point too where I know there's students out there who are just biting at the bit to get every sort of experience that they can get, no matter what field is in. But is it more important to get the most experience that you can get, or get a little less, but more in a targeted field where you want to be? How would you, if you were in that situation, weigh those two options in trying to find, in network and find that career path after school is over?
I think that it's better to have more opportunity in different fields because you learn more about yourself in those experiences. I'll take, experiences I had in college. I did a very different internships throughout my time, and I learned a lot of different things about myself and what I liked and what I didn't like and what I was good at and what I needed maybe to improve on or work on. So I think, it's not always about, keeping an experience for a long time and continuing to grow. Sometimes it's better to have more experience in different fields. So you sort of see, oh, well, I actually really enjoy this. I didn't think I was going to, or I learned this about myself, something that I didn't know before. So I think it's always great to have more opportunity, to be able to learn more about who you are and who you want to be and what you're really passionate about, instead of maybe just staying in one spot because you think this is where you want to go. I think, experience is, the best way to learn and grow and figure out what you really want to be doing.
It's almost as important to find the things that you don't like too.
Correct.
Go through the interview.
I learned a lot of things I didn't like early on in my career. So,
and kind of off of that, Nathan said it before, and, I'm in the same situation. And, truly, if you look at your career path as well, we all kind of quote unquote put our eggs in one basket. I interned and worked part-time here at the Hall of Fame before I was full-time. Nathan did the same thing. And Carly, you've been with the Eagles your entire career. So, we've said that, you talk about getting all this experiences, but then you look at that. So how important is it for you? You talk about getting all this experiences, but then, sticking with the Eagles. So obviously there's been some important aspect of working for the organization that's been super important in your life. So even though you've been with the Eagles that entire time, how important has that been for you? And what have you learned from your time, being with just one organization?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the exciting thing again about sports is that it's never the same day twice. So I wear many hats, in my role with community relations. When I first started as a marketing intern, I was doing a lot of fan-based events, draft party, all those types of larger scale events. So I learned a lot about the organization and how it operates, which was really great and insightful because I didn't really know how an NFL team ran. So working in that marketing role for 10 months was really crucial to deciding, do I want to stay in sports? Do I not want to stay in sports? And learning, how an NFL team was ran. So that really, projected me to thinking, I really like doing events. I thought I wanted to be like an event planner, PR type person. And then I learned in that 10 months, I do love events, but I still like that opportunity to give back. And that's where I really learned about community relations and what it had to offer. It had events, it had that external facing ability to connect with our fans. And so when I started out, obviously my main role, and it still continues to be my main role, is to work with our players on the roster and getting them involved in the community. But I feel like, my role is a little special in the sense that, again, I get to work with every department. So I've learned a lot throughout my years. And while my main responsibilities may have stayed the same in a sense, I'm growing my knowledge in the other departments and roles that I'm working with. I work a lot with our corporate sponsorship team, working a lot with our sponsors, getting a lot of knowledge from them and understanding how, they run their department and their business operations, working with our fan services department, our season ticket member services department, our marketing team. Again, I'm wearing a lot of hats as well, because I get to work with all these departments on all of our CR initiatives as well. So while a lot of things have stayed the same within my day-to-day, I'm learning a lot of different things throughout the field and how we're continuing to grow our business and our fandom here in Philadelphia. So while, I've stayed in the community relations team, I would say my knowledge has grown immensely in learning business and how it's run and, how we, put the show on, if you will. So it's been really exciting and every year is different and, it's always changing. So.
I think, obviously we're a little biased to the community relations world and everything that you get to do in that role. But it is cool because you get to do so many different little things, what other people do full time in event planning and marketing and promotion and activation. There's so many things within your one role, which, like you said, keeps it, fresh and different every day. At the beginning of the program, we talked a little bit about what we believe in here at the Hall of Fame. And I mentioned part of our mission statement is to honor the greatest of the game and preserve its history. And at our core, what we are here in Canton, Ohio, we're a museum and we honor the greatest by preserving their history in our museum. And we thought, what better way to showcase that than actually go live to our museum. We've got the Director of Youth and Education, Jerry Shockey, out there in front of some pretty notable Eagles memorabilia. So Jerry, whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jake. And thank you, Carly. And thank you to all the students that are tuning in here today from all across the country, from universities all across the country. And again, want to remind you, students, get those questions in. We want to really feed this program off the questions that you guys have and the insights that you want to hear about. So please make sure to submit those questions, state your school name, all those kind of things. And we'd love to include you in the program. But today, I'm here in a pretty special gallery. This is our Lamar Hunt Super Bowl gallery. And this is where we keep the history of the biggest game in not only in the United States, but I would say in the world as far as viewership, not only in the United States, but globally as well. There's some estimates that I've heard that estimate that almost 1 billion globally tune into the Super Bowl. So So this is a huge, huge thing. But what I have behind me are some pretty spectacular artifacts. And so you think about the Super Bowl, you think about the great dynasties, you think about the Packers winning the first two Super Bowls. Then you go into the 70s with the Steelers, and then again the 80s and 90s with the Cowboys and 49ers, and then you think about the Buffalo Bills even, who went to four straight. Unfortunately, didn't win any of those, but still a historic milestone. Then obviously you think about Belichick and Brady. We have some of those here. We got the Bradshaw jersey, we got Brady, we've got Joe Montana's jersey, but obviously the one we're looking at here today is something that Eagles fans know very well. Nick Foles, the football from the Philly special. And so, it's just so cool to be in the community relations department, to be able to work with folks like these, Nick Foles and getting them connected in the community and things like that. And so, but what I found pretty neat though is that Carly, you and I share something in common, is that usually, all my friends that work in sports, same way. They're 3 years here, 2 years there, 5 years there, that kind of thing. Well, I've been fortunate enough to be here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I literally walked across stage on a Sunday, May 14th of 2000, and started here full time May 15th of 2000. So I've been here for almost 23 years, overseeing the youth and educational department. So I think you and I share that same thing in common, that we're one of the few that actually stick for a longer term. But it seems like community relations departments seem to be that way with Renee Harvey and Jenner. It's a lot of people that Carly. But
Yep.
Let me ask you about the Super Bowl experience. And so you were there for both. I mean, obviously the victory and obviously the loss. What was it like, and did it impact your work in the community? Like that year, especially after you won the Super Bowl, I mean, the energy coming back. I mean, what was that like? Because you talk about sports towns, Philly, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Boston. I mean, Philly's one of the best sports towns. So what was that like coming back in the community after winning the Super Bowl?
It was pandemonium. It was so awesome in the entire experience. Looking back on it was sort of a blur in a sense. I mean, we all work very hard to get to that moment. Obviously, it's, we can't control what happens on the field. We can only control what happens off of it. But to see that team go as far as we did that year, if you ask my sister and my mom, I was, a ball of nerves the entire game. And didn't believe, we were going to make it and we were going to win, and we did. And so sort of when you get back to Philadelphia, it kind of settles in and you're like, okay, we just won a Super Bowl. What happens next? A lot of excitement and, a parade and all that stuff, but it really doesn't, stop. And like I said earlier, people say there's really no off season. There really wasn't. I mean, we still had to go back and try to plan all of our events for the spring, amidst winning a Super Bowl and, connecting with our fans. And so the outreach was just crazy. I mean, the amount of people that wanted, our players at appearances and events and, things like that was really, something that was really hard to manage for sure. But I think it was obviously so much fun. And, it just made our community and our fans, grow closer, to work towards something. Our fans, are really the reason we do this, obviously. So just to share that moment with them was really exciting. All the opportunities that came from it, being able to show off our trophy and bring people down. And we were bringing that trophy to every single event we had. People were just so excited. And people are still, obviously excited. This year was a tough one. It was really fun until it wasn't, but, the show must go on, and, we're already thinking about next year. So, it's really exciting time. I joke, the people in my department, we have a couple of new people this year, and I kept saying to them, I was like their mom, like, you just have to enjoy this moment, like, just enjoy the moment, because this could never, it's a once in a lifetime that can never happen again. I mean, it's happened to me twice, but, our president's been here 24 years and, he's only been to 3. So it's pretty crazy. And it sort of speaks to, as well as our organization, how, people don't leave. They're excited to be here. Obviously, I was born and raised Philadelphia Eagles fan, so why would I want to go anywhere else, So I say it really is a special Philly thing here. And it's just, the insaneness that ensued was, amazing, after we won in 2017. People are still excited about us, even though we didn't win this time around. It's another great story. And hopefully we'll be back there next year. So you never really can quite tell what's going to happen.
Yep, I got a sneaky suspicion. I know it's hard to get back year after year, but I got a feeling you guys have a good shot for a very good amount of years coming up here.
I hope
But
so.
no, that's amazing. I mean, just for students to see, I mean, like the experiences that you get to have when you're in sports. I mean,
Mhm.
and just the unique experiences, you know, AFC championships or NFC championships or Super Bowls or whatever it might be, and work with the players, especially. Can you talk real quick? And I know you touched on this a little bit, but just about, you know, and something I touched on as I was talking was, uh, you know, a lot of times in CR departments, you do see people stay a little bit longer at the same team. And I've noticed that all throughout the league because I've got a lot of friends, so many that are retired now that retired from CR departments. But, you know, there's something special about CR that, can you talk about that a little bit? I mean,
Mhm.
it's definitely a passion for you if you're staying there for that long.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my boss, our VP of community relations, actually been there for 23 years. So it just shows how long she's been there as well. I just think it's, again, Philly's such a special place when it comes to sports. We luckily have one of the biggest platforms here in Philadelphia. And I think what keeps me there is the ability to connect our players with our fans. That's a really special and exciting moment that I get to do more often than not. To me, they're my coworkers, but to, somebody else on the street, they're their role models, they're their biggest fans. And so being able to just, for that, 2 minutes or however long it is, someone gets to meet a player, that's really what sort of keeps me going, that excitement and, that engagement with our players in our community. And being able to provide those opportunities to our fans as much as possible is, something that really, motivates me. We could be having, 6 other things going on over here, but then, we take a minute to introduce, X player to somebody who's really just going through a tough time, or even sending a video message or just something that's so small. The smallest touch point goes the longest way for our fans. And I think that that's just so special. And something that I definitely don't take for granted when, sometimes you think I had the longest day and, you don't sweat the small stuff when you work in this job because you see so many incredible and amazing stories that come through our office and our desk. And, how could you complain when, you get to create these amazing experiences for these people? So it's definitely something that's kept me there.
Definitely, definitely. And it's for students to see it as well. That's why I love this series. I mean, every week we have somebody different, from a different department or whatever. So I'm a sport business major from the University of Mount Union, and sales was pushed. Obviously the easiest entry point in the sport is typically through sales, obviously through ticket sales or something like that. But this today, talking to Carly, hopefully students opens you guys up to a lot of different opportunities if you want to go into event management or planning or community relations or all these other opportunities that are out there that are really cool. I mean, Jake, for example, this year for us, for our youth education department alone, he's going to be flying 12 different places with Hall of Famers to do programs with schools all across the country. So, I mean, there's just some cool opportunities. So, Carly, I just want to say thank you for connecting here and imparting wisdom and knowledge and all your expertise to these students that are tuned in across the country. So, thank you, Carly, and Jake. I'm going to send it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate all that insight there and a look into our Super Bowl gallery there with a little Philly special love from the Super Bowl. One of the best plays I think I've seen in the Super Bowl for sure.
Mm-hmm.
While Jerry was talking to us there, we got a bunch of questions submitted. So we're going to run through all those here, starting with Marshall. He's from he's from Washington and Lee University. So he's always been a massive NFL fan. I've always dreamed of a career in or around the NFL. So how can he, as a student, find opportunities to work with the league or teams throughout the NFL?
So I would say, a lot of people like using Teamwork Online. That has probably all the opportunities throughout sports in general, not just the NFL. So I would check that out. There's always, part-time positions, seasonal positions, full-time roles, things like that, to sort of, soak your feet into that, see what you might be interested in. And then I would say, a lot of what we do now is posting on LinkedIn. So always, trying to follow organizations or companies that you think you're interested in, seeing opportunities that they have available. We mostly have, postgraduate opportunities for individuals and some seasonal type things for people that are in school. So it really just also depends on the team, the market, where you're working. where you're looking to get involved. But I would just continue, to check out those sites. And I think LinkedIn is obviously, a big one of those to keep your eye on as well.
Awesome. All right. Our next question is from Rashai or Rashi. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but as you can tell from the beginning, I have a bad track record of that. They are from Temple University right there in Philly.
TU, my boyfriend would be proud. He went to Temple.
Said, what advice do you have for upcoming grads who don't have experience working in the sport industry, but are still interested in working in sports, specifically looking at the NFL?
That was me, honestly. I really didn't have a lot of, opportunity to work in sports, as I was in my college career. One thing that I did do was actually work for the Eagles PR team on game day. So I was working in the press box, just like running stat sheets and having that opportunity, which was really awesome because it was a free ticket to the game and watching in the press box. But just kind of learning and seeing what goes on in there was really awesome as well. And I think just being able to connect with people too, and learning about what they do, whether it's at the Eagles or, a different team. It's okay to not have, a ton of experience. I sure did not. And I sort of just found my way into that. So I think it's just continue to look for opportunities that might even interest you. Maybe not exactly in sports, but, a nonprofit that works in sports, or organization that works in the sports industry as well, or even just talking, to your local athletics department and learning about the connections that they have, excuse me. So I think, don't be scared that you don't have a lot of experience, because I didn't, but there's always, experiences to be had. So just keep your eyes open for those.
All right. Our next question here comes from Becky. They're a junior at Villanova. Wanted to know, did you always want to go into community relations, knowing it's such a specific niche in the sports industry? Was that always your goal?
It was not always my goal. I think when I started in college, I had no idea what I wanted to do, nor does anyone really. I mean, if you do, more power to you. I first thought I wanted to be a nutritionist, and learn math and science were not my strong suit. So I pivoted and, sort of found I liked, PR, thinking I wanted to work in event planning, and working, like I just said a minute ago, in the press box on game day. I learned a little bit about PR, and I had learned about the marketing role as I was graduating University of Delaware. So I luckily received that role and thought, okay, I love events. I want to do events, marketing, the whole gamut. And while I was working as an intern at the Eagles, I sat down with each department and I tried to learn about what they did and possibly where I wanted to go next, because obviously there wasn't a full-time position ready for me when I was done my internship at the Eagles. And I had sat down with the girl who had my job and learned about her role and learned about community relations in the NFL. I really had no knowledge of it. But I was always interested in working with people externally as well. Excuse me. So learning that niche of community relations was definitely something I didn't know going into it, but something that I absolutely fell in love with. And obviously it is a small group. There's usually not large departments throughout the league. Some teams there's one or two people. Luckily we have 5, and it's grown ever since. So there's definitely, a market for growing, social responsibility, community relations. But definitely not something that I was, set in stone thinking this is exactly what I wanted to be doing. But once I did, obviously I'm still here today. So it's something that's been really great, and something I've really enjoyed doing.
All right, we got one more question so far here. We're going to go all the way out to the West Coast, Mission Viejo, California, Saddleback College for our next question from Aaron. Wanted to know how the other positions you've held in your past career life helped you in your community relations role today. You talked a little bit about the internships and learning, but how did specific things you take away from those experiences help you in your current role?
I think I've learned to be very adaptable and a good problem solver in the different roles that I've had. I would especially say in the event space, your event is never going to go flawless. It's never going to go the way you want it to. But what you can do is learn how to adapt to something that comes up and learn how to shift or pivot or problem solve, which is something that I've really taken with me throughout each role that I've held. Another thing that I really value, either when, I'm working on an event or being, at an event, is learning just to have a positive attitude and really just going with the flow. Again, that adaptability piece. Most times than not, people just want you to show up and see a smile, and everything else we can figure out. So I think just learning those two things have really gotten me a long way. And just really people want to be heard, and being that person that, has that ear open as well. And someone who, doesn't say no, but says, no, but how can I help you do this? Versus saying no. So I think just, again, that adaptability piece, as well as, that positive attitude, are two things that I've carried with me and continue to try to, show as I grow in my career, and have really been, helpful to me throughout it. So.
And I find that answer really cool, because those aren't like how to run an event or what operations staff need to do or how do you market. It was all, outside the work, all those intangible things that you need to be successful in life. And, that is things you can learn from anything that you, not just a job in sports. And, we talk about those things that you can learn to make you the best person that you can be. And obviously we're unapologetically football. So we think the game of football can teach so many of those great life lessons. So being involved in the game like you have, what have you seen the game of football teach those? You've been around it. Not only you've seen, from the player side, working with players, you've obviously been a part of a Super Bowl. So you've seen the impact that a whole city can take away from the game. And then being out in the community and seeing little kids to adults to so many different people taking in the game a different way. What have you seen the game of football teach to those who are fans, who play it, who watch it, and how do they take those life lessons to apply to their everyday life?
Yeah, I think I see it mainly, with the players on our roster, because I get to work with them so much, is, playing football, obviously, is something that they love doing, but it really teaches them a lot of things, off the field as well. And, how to be responsible, how to have a schedule, how to interact with people. I think one thing, that pops into my head, from, my career is you're never going to have, a great day every day. But if you have the ability to have a good team and people with you that can help you through those times, it's just going to make you more successful. So, there's days when, my coworker Dan might be going through a lot, has a lot of work on his plate. And I see that and I register that and I say, okay, how can I help you today? I may have these 5 things, but when I have a minute, how can I help you succeed at what you're doing? And there's days that'll happen to me and he'll be able to help me as well. So never be afraid, to ask for help and lean on people. I think that's a big one as well that I see with these guys is, they are humans just like us. They make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Things are going to happen, but being able to, be a good teammate when you need to be. And then, that'll show through when you're that person for somebody else. I think I see that, with our fans, we're all leaning on each other for one common goal, Super Bowl, right? But what else can we do in the community? We see that, every week when we go out and do an event, we see our community come together for, even just that 1 hour to help each other. We really are a community that wants to help one another, and share a common goal, and be there when we can be for each other.
Normally throughout this program, we always like to ask, what was your favorite on the field event that you got to be a part of? Like you said, working in sports is you get to do a lot of cool and unique things, but I think we talked a little bit about obviously being a part of a Super Bowl victory. It's going to be pretty hard to top that throughout your career. So I'm sure that was a fun experience for you, but I want to talk a little bit about the community relations side of things. Is there an event? Is there an NFL, cause, whether it's My Cause, My Cleats or Salute to Service or things along those lines? That's your favorite that you look forward to every year? And, talk a little bit about some of those initiatives and the impact that you've seen and maybe some of your favorite moments that have stuck out.
Yeah. So it's hard to pick one, which I guess is, a good problem to have because there's so many good ones. I think, when people ask me that question, I like to say anytime that I can connect somebody who's going through a hard time or, has a situation that, they just can't get out of, or someone's sick or, something like that. Anytime I can have a player meet them or be a part of, what they're going through or their story. At the time, you're not thinking, the impact that it's going to have on somebody. But then once you kind of go through that experience and you see, a kid meet Brandon Graham and, when they first meet, it's amazing. And you're like, okay, this was all worth it, Giving people the opportunity to come into our building and, see our locker room, simple things like that. Even today is a great example. All these coaches coming into our locker room and getting their phones out. They've never been in there before. So it's just small things like that. We're always looking at the big picture, but even just being there and showing up is probably the coolest part of our job, because, people say, I can't believe you're here. Like, of course we're here, we want to be there for, our community. So I think, that as a whole is just really like encompasses community relations and our job. Excuse me. And then I would say, we do a lot of really cool off-season events. I would say, a big one that we do in April is called Huddle Up for Autism, for the autism community here in the area. We partner with the Center of Autism Research at the Children's Hospital. And it's just a day where families that, are in that autism community can come, judgment-free zone. They can enjoy time with their family. We have carnival games and player autograph signings and activities for them on the field. So, excuse me. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold.
No worries.
That's probably a really special day because we just get to, open our stadium to them and they get that opportunity. So that's a really, really great one as well.
I want to jump back into a little bit now of the, world life in college, being, obviously you've seen that, graduating, getting a job in the NFL. It's always stressed in how important networking is and how important it is to get out there and get your business cards out there and get your resumes out there to so many people in the field that you want to work in. So, looking back at that and knowing how important that is stressed for somebody that's in those shoes right now, that's trying to network, maybe they're tuning in, using this as an opportunity to network. How important was that in your career, and what are some tips and tricks for students in college today to do the same thing and really get their name out there and build their network?
Yeah, I would say that social media is your friend in the networking space. I would say it definitely wasn't as big when I was coming out. Obviously, it was there and it existed, but it definitely wasn't as easy as it probably is now to connect with people. I think I said this earlier, I'm pretty bad at LinkedIn during the season because I'm going. So this is the time of year where I'm always, getting back in and connecting on LinkedIn and seeing people that are sending me messages. I think strategically, if you're looking to get into a certain sport, maybe looking at when their off season is and hitting those people that you want to connect with during those off season times for them, because it sort of slows down in a sense. And sometimes people have more of an opportunity to get back to you and connect with you and things like that. I think for me, because I went to college locally, I had a little bit more of opportunity in this area to connect as well with people. But I think now we're also seeing a lot of people coming from everywhere. One of our seasonal associates now is from North Carolina. 5 years ago, we were not even looking at people in North Carolina to come up here and be a seasonal associate. So I think it's sort of showing that people really are doing all they can to be in the industry they want to be in. So don't let it stop you from, taking that leap of heading out west or, heading down south or wherever you want to be. I think, again, that opportunity really will just show up when it needs to. And using those tools as best you can, locally, as well as, who you connect with throughout the region as well.
Got time for a few more questions here. So we want to get into our rapid fire question segment that we started this year, kind of our fun but impactful part of the program today. I actually added a question before we started today. I just want to get a little bit of input. No pressure. It's nothing difficult, but we're going to go ahead and get started. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First question. LinkedIn, a great way to network or just another social media app?
No, it's great. I think it's great.
Number 2, GPA on a resume. Keep it on or leave it off?
Keep it off.
Number 3, social media accounts, public or private?
I would say private, unless you're okay with letting people see what you're doing, but I would say private.
Number 4, jeans at work, all day, every day, only on Fridays, or never?
Well, we're lucky here at the Eagles. We don't have to wear jeans. We can kind of wear like joggers or comfy pants, but yeah, jeans. Definitely no more business attire.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
That's a great answer. 5, coin toss, heads or tails?
Tails.
You score a touchdown, your go-to touchdown celebration.
Oh my gosh. I think I would just be so excited. I would just stand with my hands in the air.
And then my last,
do the field goal, do this.
my last question, obviously news came out the other day. We've seen it here that the Eagles are going back to the throwbacks, the all Kelly green uniforms, Kelly green helmets. So I got to ask, are we a fan, yes or no, of the Kelly green throwbacks?
Definitely. Look, I got my Kelly green on today.
That might have been where the question prompted me from. But wanted to ask and make sure. So thank you for doing that. Obviously, a good way to learn a little bit about more things in the league. So last question here today, and it's the way we wrap up this program every week. Just want to get your opinions on and your thoughts on that one last piece of advice you want students to take away from today. Obviously, we've given so much information on so many different topics, but if there's that one thing that students can take away from today watching this program, whether they're watching it now or like we said at the beginning, 6 months down the road. What's that one thing you want them to take away?
I would say be your authentic self. Always, show up where you can and have a positive attitude. And the rest will take you where you want to go.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to wrap it up. This edition of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Before the Snap series today, featuring Carly Pennacchia. I wrote it down so I would say it right. Community Relations Manager with the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, Carly, thank you so much for being a part of our Before the Snap series today, giving time out of your truly busy schedule today to talk with us and all of the students that tuned in.
Thank you, guys. It was great being here. I appreciate it.
And as we said, as we always say before we leave, and make sure you're following all of our social media channels at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So like, follow, subscribe on all the different platforms. Do the same with the Eagles, seeing all the great work that they're doing out in the community. If you're a podcast listener, make sure you subscribe to the Hall of Fame's podcast, The Mission, hosted by our great friend, and Before the Snap guest here with us, Jameer Howardson. Is going to have a lot of awesome content coming out here as we get back from the Super Bowl, and look forward to having our new class make their way here to Canton. Next program, we're going to be looking next week. We're actually going to be doing this on Thursday next week, March 2nd. So if you're tuned in on Friday, you're going to miss us. Make sure you're tuned in on Thursday, March 2nd. We're going to go right next door to our great friends at the Hall of Fame Village for our special guest. We're going to have Clint Fetty, who's a general manager and vice president there, to talk a little bit about his job and his awesome career path that brought him here to Canton, Ohio, to the Hall of Fame Village. So, as we like to say, the game of football wouldn't be like it is today without our Hall of Famers influence. And it truly goes the same for everybody who has a job in and around the NFL. So Carly, thank you for everything you've done for the game of football, and indirectly everything you're going to do for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, especially being a guest on the program today.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
From myself, from Jerry, and all of our great staff here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as well as Carly, to all of our students and everybody